One Piece. The story follows Luffy on his journey to become king of the pirates. He crosses paths with the Alvita pirates and showcases his rubber-based superpower, defeating them effortlessly. Meanwhile, Zoro, another formidable swordsman, rejects an offer from a group of assassins and engages in a fight with Mr. Seven, ultimately killing him. Luffy reveals to Kobe that his rubber powers were obtained from eating a devil fruit that also renders him unable to swim. Luffy and Kobe decide to head to a marine base so that Kobe can join the Marines and Luffy can obtain a map to the Grand Line. The narrative introduces Nami, who uses her wit to trick a pair of pirates and make her escape. Lastly, Luffy encounters Zoro and Nami in a bar, witnesses Zoro's impressive fighting skills, and recruits him to join his crew after untangling him from Helmeppo's clutches. Nami sneaks into the library in the base and lies to an officer, claiming that Morgan sent her to find a map of the Grand Line. She manages to knock out two officers and encounters Luffy, who follows her after overhearing their conversation. They break into Morgan's office, triggering an alarm, and Luffy accidentally activates a switch that reveals a safe. Unable to open it in time, Luffy uses his power to pull it out, launching himself and Nami out of the window. They are confronted by guards, but with the help of Zoro, they overpower them. However, Morgan arrives and proves to be a formidable opponent. With teamwork, Luffy and Zoro defeat Morgan, and Zoro carries the safe to Nami's boat. They are about to escape when Helmeppo appears, but Kobe knocks him out. Luffy bids farewell to his newly made friend Kobe before leaving. Luffy is saved from drowning by Shanks after being attacked by a sea monster. Shanks loses an arm in the process but prioritizes Luffy's safety. The trio then faces various challenges in a circus, defeating enemies and ultimately recovering a map. They leave the island and head to the Gecko Islands. Meanwhile, Buggy encounters a fish person who informs him about Arlong's interest in Luffy and the map. When the trio arrives at the Gecko Islands, they meet Usopp and his friend Kaya. They are invited to Kaya's mansion and celebrate her birthday while Luffy plans to convince her to give them a ship. However, tensions arise as Klahadore, Kaya's caretaker, is revealed to have sinister motives. Zoro and Usopp find Mary's body in the wine cellar and realize that Klahadore is actually the wanted pirate Kuro. They start fighting, but Kuro is too fast and knocks out Zoro. Usopp escapes through the window, but nobody believes him when he tries to ring the bell to raise the alarm. Usopp collapses in despair but is found by Kobe, who believes his story. Meanwhile, Nami hides in a cupboard in the mansion and overhears the criminals planning to kill Kaya. Usopp arrives with Kobe and Helmeppo to accuse Kuro, but they need evidence to arrest him. Kuro hands Luffy over and Nami takes the opportunity to knock out one of the criminals. As midnight strikes, Kaya finally believes Usopp's story. Usopp, Nami, and Kaya escape through hidden tunnels while Kuro tries to stab them through the walls. Zoro wakes up in the well and remembers his childhood and his promise to become the world's greatest swordsman. Inspired, he climbs out of the well and joins forces with Luffy. Together, they fight their way back to the mansion and defeat Sham and Butchie. In the old room, Kaya and Nami try to attack Kuro but get captured. Luffy comes up with a plan and finally defeats Kuro, sending him flying out the window. Kaya thanks the group by gifting them the Going Merry, and Usopp decides to join Luffy's crew. Garp hires Dracule, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, to hunt down Luffy, and Dracule accepts the offer while displaying his formidable skills. Luffy and his crew find a seagoing restaurant where Sanji works as a chef. Luffy is unable to pay for the meal, so the owner, Zeph, orders him to work off his debt. Luffy starts washing dishes and discovers Sanji's dream of finding the mythical ocean, all blue. Meanwhile, Nami considers leaving the crew but ultimately decides to stay. Dracule, the world's greatest swordsman, arrives at the restaurant and challenges Zoro to a duel, defeating him quickly. The group brings Zoro inside and Zeph treats his wounds. Later, Arlong and his henchmen arrive, looking for Luffy. They ask for the map, and Nami, who has secretly been working for Arlong, reveals she has it. Arlong throws Luffy into the sea, but Sanji rescues him. Sanji argues with Zeph but ultimately joins Luffy's crew. Luffy reveals he is Buggy's head and they plan to go after Arlong's headquarters. Nami follows Arlong back to her childhood home, remembering her past with her adoptive mother and sister. Nami reveals the truth about her deal with Arlong. She agreed to become his cartographer in exchange for him selling the village back to her for 100 million. As Nami tries to liberate the village, she is interrupted by Marine Captain Nezumi, who confiscates her stolen treasure. Nami has a breakdown and destroys her tattoo, but is comforted by Luffy and the promise of his help. After Arlong gives a speech encouraging his pirates to destroy the village, Luffy's crew arrives at Arlong's headquarters. While Luffy fights Arlong, the others battle the henchmen. Luffy eventually manages to defeat Arlong by destroying the building they're in. The village celebrates their freedom, but the party is interrupted by the Marines. Garp, Luffy's grandfather, starts a fight with Luffy but ultimately lets him go and arrests Arlong's men instead. Nami says goodbye to her family and Koby shows Luffy his new bounty of 30 million. The group finally accepts that they are a true crew and set sail.